For this, you'll need wooden rings, beads, sizing of your choice of course, scissors, and macrame cord. For this first design, you're going to need to cut 6 individual strands of macrame cord and make them long if you want to do a gnarlier design. Feed those strands through the wooden ring because this is going to make your hook to hang it. Keep feeding the rope through until it is even on both sides and fold it in half. You can hang the ring if you want, but I found that if I taped it down, it was a lot easier. Cut another piece of macrame cord about a 1/2 arm's length because you are going to do a wrap knot right now. Keep the top string that you're not wrapping around a little bit shorter, and you're gonna make a loop so there's a lot of excess string to the left like you can see here. Now take the longer cord side and simply wrap that around the other cords as many times as you'd like. I did mine about 15 times. When you want to end this, all you have to do is take the cord that you're wrapping around with and thread it through the loop that you made in the beginning, and then you're going to pull that top little shorter string and it will tighten it, and you will see that here. You're going to keep pulling it until it's completely tight, but just work it little by little because you don't want to pull it too hard because it will rip it through and the whole thing will come undone. Cut the excess off, and now we're going to move along to a square knot. Your wrap knot should look like this. You started with 6 strings that you thread through the ring and you folded in half, so now you should have 12 strands. Separate those into 3 groups of 4. I separated all of them and kind of pushed them out of the way so I could focus on the first group I'm working with. You're going to have outer strands and middle strands on your groups of 4. So you're going to take one side and thread it underneath the 2 middle strands. So now my right hand piece is underneath the 2 middles. So I'm going to grab my left piece, go through that little circle piece and pull all the way up. I'm going to show you again, do not worry. You are going to alternate the sides that are going underneath the 2 middle pieces. So I started my right, now I'm going to my left. So again, with whatever piece you're starting with, it will go underneath those 2 middle pieces. So now take your other piece and you're gonna go below that left-hand strand, but you're gonna go through that left-hand circle and above the 2 middle pieces. I used that tape to remind myself what side I was going underneath the 2 middles with. Let's slow it down. So see how my right-hand piece is under the 2 middles. Now I'm taking my left-hand piece and I'm going underneath the excess of the right, over the 2 middles, and then through the circle, and I'm pulling. Do this as many times as you want, and do not forget to alternate to get that pattern. I did mine about 5 times on each side. Now on those same groups of 4, I just moved that design down so it's floating, if you will, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. The first mark you make when it's floating doesn't look like much, but the second you start to notice you're on a roll. I then learned that the strand that is pointing out upwards towards you is the side that you need to go underneath with. So I went under and I left that right-hand side over the left-hand side. This is what I was talking about earlier. And then you take that left-hand side and you go over the middle and then through that circle and pull. Repeat that as many times as you'd like. Again, I did that 5 times on each side, and if they're uneven, like right here, you can just take out the knot super easily, and voila. Now I laid out all my pieces once I was done, and I just simply knotted all the outers of the groups together to connect it to create the hanger. So you will have 3 knots because you're just connecting the outer edges of each group. I then put my pumpkin up into the net to make sure that it fit properly, and then I just tied a big old knot on the bottom. For this second design, you're gonna need 4 long pieces of macrame cord, feed it through that ring, fold it in half, and do that wrap knot that I showed you earlier. These are actually considered doll heads at Michael's, but I just screwed a hole directly through them because I wanted big old jumbo beads, but I didn't have time to order them. If you don't want to drill a hole in these yourself, you're more than welcome to order them. I linked a bunch of beads below that I'm like absolutely in love with. You're going to need 10 of these beads, and once you do drill the holes through, go ahead and sand it off if you have any marks that you don't want, and then just the rough edges of where you drilled. You can skip this step if you ordered beads, but make sure the opening is big enough for 2 of the strands of string going through. Separate your strings into 4 groups of 2. Pick one of your groups and feed a bead about 1/4 of the way from the top of your macrame hanger, and then double knot it at the place you want it to rest. Do the same to another group, but put the bead a little bit higher. Now thread 2 jumbo beads to every single group and make them level. Tie a double knot under each of those beads so they're at the same resting place. Once you're done with that, all you gotta do is tie each group together by a single knot like this. When the groups are laying next to each other, you would tie each of the strings that are closest to each other together, if that makes sense. Make sure that all your knots are even as well. And now connect those 2 outer pieces, and you can see that the net for your pot or plant or pumpkin, whatever you decide to hang, is starting to form. Hang it up so we can measure where we want the plant to go. Once I liked where the pumpkin was at, I tied a big knot, which you can either just leave like we did last time, or you can do what I'm about to do right here. When I undid my knot, I just put a piece of tape down of where I'd like the pumpkin resting, and then I did a wrap knot. Looks a lot cleaner in my opinion. And that's it for this design, but I realized my pumpkin was lacking luster, so I'm going to show you how I jazzed it up a bit. Instead of cutting the top of the pumpkin, we're going to do the same thing just to the bottom. That way you don't see it when the pumpkins are hanging. Cut that out and you should have something like this. Set that bottom part aside and grab the entire pumpkin, get an electric drill and your choice of drill bit size, and just come up with patterns and start drilling directly into your pumpkin. Since these are fake, you're going to notice some of the foam from the inside of the pumpkin. Just scrape it off with your finger and it's totally clean. Into my second pumpkin, I just drilled a bunch of holes trickling up it, and I really liked it. Back to the bottom of the pumpkin, you're just going to need a piece of Velcro and a flameless candle. Stick one part of the Velcro so you're not covering up that on and off switch. And stick the other one on the pumpkin cutout. So now when you go to light your pumpkin, you just take out that bottom piece. That candle's not going to move around because of the Velcro, and then turn it on and place it right back on the Velcro, and it's going to stay there the whole time. And it's just as easy to turn off the candle as well. I hope that you guys enjoyed this macrame plant hanger / pumpkin hanger DIY. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and do not forget to follow me outside of this YouTube bubble and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys next Wednesday.